Welcome back to the podcast and today's episode with me, Johnny Pardo. Today I welcome Alex to the show and we're going to be talking about performance, we're going to be talking about public speaking and a few more topics around that. But as you're listening today, I'd really invite you to think how this can apply to your own life in terms of what we're going to be talking about today. So just a quick introduction to Alex. So Dr. Alexander McWilliam is a public speaking expert, performance psychology consultant, and award-winning speaker with a PhD in public speaking, anxiety, and performance. He specializes in using acting and improvisation to help professionals overcome anxiety, master communication, and perform under pressure. Alex, great to have you, as I was saying before the show, on board, and really looking forward to diving into some of these topics. I know lots of people struggle with public speaking. I've been one of them in the past, and like nerves coming up. So that's awesome. And obviously lots of different people with different forms of, like what I've heard or shared with me, there's different forms of anxiety that you can get. But yeah, really be curious, first of all, to hear a little bit about your story that got you into helping people with working through like performance, helping people with public speaking, and this story around anxiety that you help people with.
No, thank you very much for having me. It's great to speak. My journey with anxiety and public speaking began. So I trained as an actor and have been performing for, I think, the last 17 years as an actor. And when I wasn't acting, I was also teaching acting, improvisation, public speaking skills. And I saw that so many people were terrified of public speaking. They just hated it. It was friends, it was colleagues. The thought of standing up on stage and speaking in front of other people just filled them with dread. And I've been teaching improvisation for years to various children, teenagers, adults. And the adults was really interesting because a lot of them didn't come from a performance background, but they were using all these improvisation techniques. And they were saying they were becoming much more confident in public speaking and just communicating in general. And I thought, well, there must be something behind this. So I did some research. I thought, let's figure out what's going on here. And there's limited research. So I thought this is definitely an area that can be tapped into. And so many people have this fear of public speaking and they have so many amazing ideas. And if they're able to communicate those ideas, then they could change the world as we know. But that anxiety, that fear either limits them or they fall to pieces when the pressure comes. It's like the penalty in a World Cup final. They know they can do it in practice. They know they can score the goals. But when there's 20,000 people watching them, they fall to pieces. It's the same with public speaking. They can do it like we're doing now, privately or one-to-one, but get them up on stage in front of 1,000 people of their colleagues or friends, and they mind blank, they panic, they want to throw up. All of those things happen. And I've felt nervous myself when speaking. And that did prompt the journey of going, well, why do I feel nervous? What's causing this sort of anxiety? And, I'm worried about making mistakes. Is it about, performing poorly is a big one, especially among social statuses. So in a business, we've all got our social status. Like I might be in the middle of the pecking order, or maybe I'm a manager, maybe I'm a senior manager, I'm sort of top of the pecking order. So I might not want to present because if I show people that I'm vulnerable and not very confident presenting, then those underlings might come for my job, or they might reject me from that social party, and then I'll be the person on their own all the time going, what do I do with my life? No one wants to hang out with me. That's the very extreme case, and no one actually ever gets rejected fully from the group. But that's something that people fear will happen. And so they're like, I don't want to put myself out there. But then they're limiting what they can do as a speaker and as a business person as well.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of like curiosity, lots of observations in your journey.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated by the improv and how that really helps. How did that help people? Just to kind of dive a little bit into that, because yeah, I find it interesting.
Yeah, so the improv, it's really hard to replicate a public speaking situation, a stress of public speaking.
Yeah.
I can't put like the £1 million pitch on the line, and I can't put a stadium full of 10,000 people. But weirdly, with improvisation, it can still recreate some of the stresses that people feel going, right, I haven't prepared. Well, improvisation allows no preparation. I'm going to potentially come with failure. Like some of the improvisation exercises, one of my favorite ones we love to play is we get a group of people in a line and they start to tell a story, a work-related story. And if they make a big hesitation or they don't know what to say, as an audience, we all shout die in their face. And we go, right, die, and you're eliminated from the game. And obviously, in real life, hopefully, no audience member is going to shout, die, you're out, when you're presenting. But what it does do is replicate the experience of failure, the experience of rejection, and the experience of not humiliation, but kind of what it potentially feels like failure in front of other people. And if we can get you comfortable in those situations, I think failure is never a bad thing when you're presenting. Making mistakes, things happen, but it's your ability to recover from those mistakes. Like if I make a mistake when I'm presenting, I can either go, I've lost my place and it falls apart, falls to pieces, and the audience notice. Or I can stumble, I can recollect myself, and the audience probably won't remember anything. If you've been speaking for 20 minutes, they will forget all those little bits. So the improvisation gives you loads of rapid exposures to presenting situations, but also gives you opportunities to master them. So say we did an improvisation exercise where I got you to make up a story and I'm just smiling and nodding. My job is just to be supportive. But anytime you're a bit ambiguous, I'll say, oh, add this in. Like we went to the pub. It was the Fox and Hound. Together, fill in those little blanks. Then you've got a master experience going, great, I've achieved that goal and I feel good about that. And we slowly just expand that comfort zone to get you more and more comfortable in the unknown, the uncomfortable. And then we ramp up the pressure. So you tell a story, but I make it harder. I put limitations on it. I push your buttons. I find out what stresses you and push you a little bit further. If you don't like making mistakes or you don't like audience feedback, I might sit there and go, oh, while you're presenting, just to see how it is and how it reacts for you. And can you tolerate that? And then if you can tolerate it, then when it happens in the real situation, as it often will, because our nerves will increase, you go, I'm feeling nervous, but I'm not going to let it overwhelm me. I can still sustain my performance, even if I am feeling a bit nervous. And that's why I think improv's great. It provides those opportunities and it's fun. It's usually a laugh. People laugh, people enjoy themselves. They get to be silly and they get to be silly with colleagues in a situation where they don't normally get to. Work sometimes is very serious, but improv, we strip the ego aside and we just get to play and have fun. There's no hierarchy. That's it. CEO with apprentice, same room. You can do the same thing.
Yeah, improv. You're taking me back to Toastmasters improv,
Yeah.
and you do a lot of that like 1 minute, and then it's like I remember going through like Disney characters, and it's like I got the one I had no idea about, and I was in a fairly like confident stage of kind of like speaking then, and I was just like saying all sorts of nonsense, and you know what? You built up that ability through the improv of just like doing it again and again, and having fun with it. So yeah, I love that. I love that technique.
I think that's it. If you can have fun in the learning process, you want to come back and do it. Like if
Mm,
you went to your Toastmasters and you said, "Oh, that was terrible. I hated it. I was really anxious," and you were like, "I'd never want to do that again." But even if it was a bit anxiety provoking, but you had fun and you enjoyed the session, you go, "Oh, I'm willing to come back
mm,
and confront that scary thing because actually it was enjoyable enough for me to do that." I think that sometimes we lack that a lot in training, that how much fun can there be? There should be loads of fun because then it makes it much more enjoyable and they remember it much more, which means they're going to retain so much more of the content that you're talking about. And they go, oh yeah, let's do that exercise. That was fun. And it developed a skill. It's like, healthy eating, which is actually really tasty at the same time. It's the benefit of having two things happening when you're only actually focusing on one thing.
mm,
So I think that's a real important thing when it comes to training and improv in general, having fun with it.
mm. Yeah, yeah, fun. I know. I've got this. There's a guy I've learnt a lot from, and he's good. He's business partners with Tony Robbins. He's quite like big in this space, and he likes to keep things simple. But one of the key things he's always telling and reminding in events like the Tony events is like the children are learning, they're having fun, and then you get to adults and you just do such things like always get into a habit sometimes of doing things a bit in a mundane or dull way, and he always reminds us. So this improvisation's like a real opportunity, it sounds like, to have fun, to speed up the learning process, because fun does speed it up.
Yeah, and I think there always is, as we get older, we get more resistant to, training. Go, oh, what is this going to be? What's this new thing that we're doing? What is it? And as soon as I tell people, oh, we're doing improvisation and acting techniques, they go, oh, I don't want to be a tree. I don't want to be a goblin. Don't make me act. And that's what we've done is we've transferred the improvisation elements and put it into more of a storytelling aspect, as opposed to, right, pretend you're a goblin and you're going to be doing this thing. No, you're you and you're telling a story like, you are to your kids or you are to your family. And all we're doing is enhancing your creativity, adaptability, resilience, all of those kind of things. And it's great to see where people's brains go when you push them, because some amazingly creative ideas come out because you just keep pushing the button and they go, oh, oh, and their brain lets loose because they're stopping kind of evaluating as they're doing. And when they do that, some amazing funny ideas come out, which it's such a pleasure to see them, especially 60-year-old men coming out with some obscure random fact about something. When you go, that would never have happened at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning, but 2 hours into an improv class, they've unleashed their true self, which is amazing to see.
Oh, brilliant. No, I love it, Alex. I'm just thinking for the individual who's perhaps got that limiting thought of or pattern, certainly being there of like, I just, I would do public speaking, but I'm just not that kind of person. Oh, I don't have the skill to do that. I'm not like them. I'm not confident like them. And maybe even the thought of an improv class, gives them a little bit of nerves to like do that. Is there anything you found useful for anything we can do in private as well to really help with some of those limiting thoughts about public speaking or get ourselves out there?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. With public speaking, it's a skill. It's a skill anyone can learn. Like any skill, it takes time and it takes training. The issue is in our school days and our universities, and even in early years in business, there is no training, or there's limited training. There's not specialist training going, okay, we are going to learn how to speak in front of others. You learn how to do maths, English, science, all of those things. But the ability to speak in front of others is often led to the teacher who goes, oh, you've got to speak in my class. You have to do this oral session. You have to do this little speech in class. No one gets taught how to do it. So I think it's a skill and it can easily be learned. I think there are a number of techniques I would always advocate is speak louder, slow down, make it nice and clear. Those are fundamental skills that you can practice on your own. But a great way to practice on your own, if you go, oh, I'm a bit apprehensive. I want to become better at speaking because there's value in it. I think that's really important. What is the value in becoming an effective public speaker? Well, if you have career aspirations, either as a individual, self-employed, business person, then if you want to climb that hierarchy, you're going to have to be able to speak to people. If it's sales clients, it's marketing, if it's getting investors, if it's speaking on a podcast like this, you're going to have to be able to be confident and competent at speaking. So if you want to rise to that level, great. If you have personal aspirations, I want to speak at my friend's wedding. I've got a funeral coming up, and I want to have a eulogy for my grandmother or something like that. And you want to share those words, and I think that can give you inspiration of something you want to achieve. I think having an idea of why you want to speak, and some people might, like you said, might go, "Oh, I don't need to speak," but actually, you might have some amazing ideas that might shape the world. A traditional would be, "I'm an engineer, I'm an accountant, I don't need to do public speaking." But if you want to, if you have an amazing idea about how you can maybe improve efficiency in the accounting department, you should be able to share that idea with other people and articulate that in a way that people listen. In regards to things you can do in private, I've always said, you've got to figure out what it is that you are afraid of. And it takes a lot of self-reflective work to go, well, what is it? What am I afraid of? And people go, oh, I'm afraid of speaking in front of others. Okay, it's a little bit generalized. Is it only public speaking, or is it every social situation? No, I'm fine at parties. Okay, so it's not speaking in front of other people. So what kind of is? So you've got to delve deep and go, okay, is it fear of making mistakes? Now, is that just in public speaking, or is it in every day of your life?
Mm.
If it's every day of your life, then maybe that's another situation to kind of work and go, I'm going to work on developing that. Is it, a fear of failure? Okay, again, are you worried about making mistakes, failing? So I think trying to identify what it is specifically and then test things out. So if you were, I'm too afraid of public speaking. Okay, try speaking one word to someone. Can you do that? Master it. Great. Now two words. Now one sentence. Now two sentences. And you're building essentially a staircase of what you feel comfortable with. So some people like to call it a habituation ladder, where you go, right, I've mastered that level, comfortable with that. Now I'm going to go to the next level. Great, comfortable with that. Now the next level. You can do that with audience size. You can do that with duration. You can do it in any kind of situation of something you're afraid. So you can kind of slowly expose yourself to it and master it and overcome it. So those are things I would recommend.
Mm.
And the thought of going to an improv class is always daunting. You go, oh my God, it's full of comedians, it's full of actors, they're full of performers, they're going to do all of this kind of thing. There's a great drop-in class that I go to and sometimes teach at on a Wednesday in Reading, and it's amazing because we get people from all walks of life. And it's a drop-in session. You don't have to go for 10 weeks at a time. And people go, and we begin with a game. I think having games and fun is really great. And then you do a lot of pair work. And the reason for doing pair work is you break down the barriers of your perceptions of other people. Like if we worked as a partner and I didn't change partners all night, all I would know is how well you are. I have no idea how everyone else is in the room. So I'm still scared of them. I go, who's that person? They look really scary. I haven't performed with them. I don't know what they're like. But if you keep mixing up the partners, then you get to work with everyone, breaking down those barriers and go, that guy's not scary. That person's nowhere near as intimidating as I thought they would be. And then
Mm.
from that, you break down those myths of I'm worried about making mistakes in front of these strangers. Well, they're less strangers now. They're not as scary. The cloud of darkness of like, oh my God, it's intimidating becomes a little bit less. So I would say take the plunge. And I always say when I'm teaching, try and exercise. If it's too much for you, don't do it. Sit back, watch, but reflect on how it was making you feel. What were you afraid of? Oh, actually, everyone was just too new. Okay, fine. We've found what your limit is for today. Then next week, come back and see if we can go a notch above that limit. And just slow and steady. It's going to take time. That's, I think, the thing. A lot of people go, I want to become a great public speaker, confident like that. And you go, it might take like that for some people. It might take 6 months, a year, 10
Mm.
years for other people. It's your personal journey. But that's where, Instagram, social media has that thing of like, oh my God, this person's perfect
Yeah.
life. And I'm comparing that perfect speaker and they're the same age as me or they're younger than me and they can do this. Why can they do that? So it's your journey to grow and develop, I think is really important.
Mm. Not the comparison trap that often comes up on this
Mm,
podcast. As yeah, just a reminder. Yeah, I love what you said about getting specific on what is it that you're fearing. Particularly, I know there's a great book, The Gift of Fear, Gavin De Becker, that I read, and it was talking about public speaking being one of the top fears out there, and it was kind of linking to all these survival things and different ways people can think about it. So I really like what you talked about with getting very clear. Is it just like making a mistake, all these kind of things, which is a really good one. I also like what you said in terms of practicing out loud in private. That for me, I've worked in sales, and actually I used to be terrified to say like a price to someone on the phone. And this is a silly example, but lots of people are talking about money to people on the phone, and having repeated saying the price out loud and the whole short and sweet presentation, and more importantly, the biggest chunk, the questions and understanding, then the most important piece. When I would do that again and again, it made me very smooth, very confident. And that's just through practice. And job interviews is another one I can experience. And that was practicing what I was going to say out loud, not in my head, not just reading something. It's a completely different thing when you're saying it out loud, right?
Well, it's because we might know how to say it in our brain, but our
Mm,
tongue, our lips, and our jaw muscles haven't practiced that. And a
mm,
lot of the time, when I ask people, well, have you been practicing? They go, oh, yeah, I went through it in my head a few times. I go, that doesn't count because you haven't practiced. One, you haven't practiced that. You also haven't practiced under pressure. A great way I always find is record yourself. and go, right, how was I? Was I doing like all of this so much like animation that it was distracting? And like figure out what's the feedback. Like naturally, I'm quite an animated presenter, but that's only come through confidence. Like some people say, "Oh, I don't know what to do with my hands." And there's a really interesting sports psychology theory called a reinvestment theory, which
Mm.
basically means which basically means like if we overthink something that's become automatic, we come back to a basic level of learning. A good way. If I like to play mini golf with my girlfriend a lot,
Mm.
and if she's winning, I will say, "Oh, babe, what were you doing with your arms and your legs on that last shot?" And then she'll overthink that last shot, and then she might miss it because she's overthought something that's become natural. So if you're ever losing a game of tennis or badminton or whatever, just go, "Well, what were you doing on that last shot?" But it's the same thing with gestures. We know how to gesture, we know how to speak to people, but when we overthink it, we go, how do I move with my hands? I overthink something that becomes natural. So I always say, just remember, think back to when you're talking to your friends and family. How do you gesture? Oh, yeah, well, I just chat like this. Yeah,
Mm.
that's your presenting style. You don't have to do any formulated kind of, these kind of set gestures because they don't necessarily feel natural to you. What is your natural presenting style? That's all we're doing. We're not going to recreate, Barack Obama, Steve Jobs. It's going to be, right, Johnny Pardo, how do you present? Alex McWilliam, how do you present? And let's enhance that version of you. And that's, I think, the most important thing. Because again, that gets rid of that comparison.
Mm.
Because I want to be that presenter. No, be you. You're the speaker. I want to enhance your ability to present.
So it's what I'm hearing is it's almost like modeling your own success that you've got somewhere and just remembering that and bringing that a little bit into your life a bit more where perhaps it's not.
Well, it goes back to being comfortable. When you're with your friends and family, you're probably quite relaxed. And so you'll do your natural gestures. When we start to present in front of other people, we start to stiffen up and go, this feels very uncomfortable. And we just forget how to do things that will become automatic. So it's the thing of master ago. You've done it before. Remember those times that you've done it before successfully. You weren't thinking about it because what you should be focusing on when you're presenting is what is the message? My
Mm.
message for the audience is I want to help you do X, Y, and Z. I want to teach you how to save money while investing. If I get that message across, no one cares how I presented it. No one cares if I was gesturing lots or gesturing none. They go, you achieved that objective. I'm going to walk away happy. Because a nice example I give is your presentation might be an hour long. That's an hour of your life. If you're speaking in front of 200 people, that's 200 hours. So you better have value to give to them. Otherwise, that's 200 hours in a business that the business has lost because everyone in their workforce came to see you present about, sales or accounting or something. So you better give them a lot of value in that. And people don't do that. They go, oh, it's only an hour of my time, but it should be your practice time. It should be all of those things to give everyone that 200 hours worth. Because that's it. People avoid practice like the plague because when they practice and it's not very good, they get reminded that it's not good and then they want to avoid practicing. Or they're so terrified of presenting, they avoid practice because every time they practice, it reminds them that they have to present and they're terrified of presenting, so they don't want to do it. It can be that spiraling thing of avoidance actually makes the problem worse.
Mm. It's interesting sometimes the when practice and then actually when you get to the real thing, the practices can be. I remember doing mock job interviews, and a couple of them were awful, but you come to the real thing and it's like really really good. So yeah, I love what you're saying about like the preparation and that, and not just speaking in your mind as well. So there's been some really practical tips you've given today, Alex, and I know you teach this stuff. You give a lot of value to people in terms of helping them work through this. And public speaking is something that people message me sometimes about, and I'm glad there's people like you teaching this out there. So as we kind of wrap up today, where can the listener find you if they want to find out more about your work or what you're offering, what you're doing? And is there maybe a final point that we talked about today or something else that you'd like to finish with?
Yes, so you can find me on LinkedIn under Alexander McWilliam, or you can look out Improv for Business, which is the number four, which is
Mhm.
the training company. So you can find us both there. Connect on LinkedIn, more than happy to chat and sort of talk to people. I think the one thing to take away is if you want to become better at public speaking and you're afraid of it, figure out what is that one big thing that you are afraid of, and then you can build your hierarchy to overcome that. Because I think if you get that one thing sorted, everything will fall into place. Because you might be a 10 out of 10 in knowledge, but if you're a 2 out of 10 in communication, that's all the audience is ever going to see. So figure out what it is that you're afraid of and then find ways to overcome that, and it will make your journey so much easier.
Love that. Coming back to the self-awareness element again. So appreciate you coming on today, Alex, and thank you for everything you've been sharing and the work you're doing.
No, thank you very much for having me. Absolute pleasure.
Awesome. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.